Hello, this is Brooks Whittington with halfwheel.com. Today we're taking a look at the PerfecPunch Stand, a punch cutter and cigar stand combination product that was developed by Rod Kurthy, a dentist and development scientist. Now, Kurthy founded Perfect Cigar Solutions Incorporated, his company, and began selling his first product called the Perfect Draw, a draw tool that is marketed as allowing users to better adjust the draw of a cigar compared to standard draw pokers. And he did this after having constant draw issues with his favorite cigar, the Monte Cristo No. 2. Now, since that time, the company has released more products, including perfect repair glue and a humidifier case and accessories case and even a strap to, put all those things together and keep them together. However, my review today, as I mentioned before, concerns the company's PerfecPunch Stand, a combination triple punch cutter and cigar stand that was released last year after more than 4 years of development. Now, there's only one version of the cutter at the moment, and it has an MSRP of $39.95. Now, in terms of technical specifications, the PerfecPunch Stand is a punch cutter, as I mentioned before, and it has 3 different size cutting options. The smallest one here is an 8mm, the middle one is an 11mm, and the last one, the largest one, is a 14mm. However, the cutter also includes a section on top here that actually doubles as a cigar stand, as I will show you a little bit later in detail. Now, the cutter is a single piece that opens via a hinge on the back of the thicker side of the cutter, and between the hinge and the profile, it opens in a way that kind of looks like a Pac-Man or a alligator, like that. From a physical standpoint, the PerfecPunch Stand measures 2.17 inches long when it's closed and 4.18 inches long when both sides are open, like so. And it actually is very, very light, only weighs 0.7 ounces. All right, well, enough about that. Let's cut some cigars. So in order to use this cutter, it's a fairly simple process. I basically pick it up with my right hand because I'm right-handed, so no surprise. I open it up, and I have an option here of 3 different sizes. So I choose one. In this case, I'm going to choose the smallest option here on the end. I pick it up and put the blade against the cap of the cigar. And the process of actually using a punch cutter is relatively easy, but it does take a little bit of practice to get it correct because you can push down too hard and break that cap. So what I do is I basically push firmly against the flat part here where the blade is, while also pushing firmly with the cigar in my hand against that blade, and at the same time twisting the cigar so that it is not as static. It moves just a little bit. And you need to be gentle but firm, which is, I know, sounds weird, but it is a process that is actually fairly simple once you get the hang of it. Once you get to the depth that you want, you simply pull this out gently, and you have yourself a nice clean cut. Not quite in the middle, but clean. So after that, the cap is left inside here by design, and in order to get that out, I just take the 2 pieces, put them back together, and as you see, clicking that firmly brings the cap up at an angle it's designed to and easy to remove. Now, one thing I should mention is the fact that these 2 ends are kept together by a magnet. You can see here, this is the magnet piece, both of these. This piece on this end and this piece on this end right here. And while it is it's strong enough easily to keep it closed for the most part, it's not so strong that you can't open it very easily. In fact, I can open with one hand very, very easily. Every once in a while when I was carrying this around in my pocket, it would come open but on its own, but it certainly didn't happen enough to be a major issue, just something to be aware of. It's very effective at keeping it closed for the most part without having to make it so difficult to open. So let's cut another one real quick. I'm going to choose the middle option this time, and the process is the same. I'm going to take that blade, put it against the cap, and I'm going to just push firmly with both ends while also twisting the cigar. And once I get to the depth that I want, I'm going to pull it out slowly and carefully, and get left with a nice and clean cut. Cap is once again stuck in here, so I click on it, whoop, and sometimes it flies right out. But it's easy to remove regardless. Now, I did test, as part of this process, as part of the review, I did test 4 different cheaper cutters, punch cutters, single size punch cutters, and to see what the difference would be between those and this one, and I'll get to that in a minute. All right, as I've done in past reviews, I'm going to discuss some of the great aspects of this cutter that I love, and I'm going to list a couple of issues that I think you should be aware of if you're thinking about purchasing it. Leading off that list of great things about this cutter is the fact that it cuts cigars really, really well. And that's not as common as you might think when it comes to cigar cutters these days. In fact, no matter which punch size I used, no matter what vitola cigar I cut with them, I came away with excellent clean cuts the vast majority of the time. There were some minor issues every once in a while, but those were really few and far between. And it got to the point where after a month of use, I became extremely confident that when I picked up this cutter, I was going to walk away with great results. One thing I would like to mention is the fact that I did not use this larger cutting option all that often. It gave great results, as good as the other 2 options when I did use it, but I don't use it as often. And I do love the fact that it is included in the cutter in case you need that run across a larger cigar that you want to use it on. It doesn't add that much bulk to the overall product. So a great addition on that. Now, as part of this review, I decided to purchase 4 different punch cutters to compare against the PerfecPunch Stand, and here's 2 of them right here. Now, each of these 4 cutters came in under $10, and I tested each of them on multiple cigars. What I found was that the cuts from the 2 of the punch cutters had some fairly minor issues, something, mostly small bits of tobacco around the edge of the opening where the blade did not cut 100% cleanly, while the results from the other 2 cutters were as good as the PerfecPunch Stand, to be honest. Regardless, even the worst cut issue I experienced with those 4 sub-$10 cutters would most likely not be problematic enough to actually cause any serious situations when you're actually smoking them. With all that said, while the actual cuts from the PerfecPunch Stand are not miles above the cheaper option, there is another aspect where the PerfecPunch Stand really shines. That's the cutting process itself. Because the punches are attached to a flat piece of metal here, instead of the end of the bullet, like this one is here, I feel like you have more control over the actual punch when you're using it. And the result is a cutting process that's noticeably less awkward, meaning I don't have to think about it nearly as much, and that in turn leads to a much better experience overall. Now, another great aspect about the PerfecPunch Stand is the stand part that the name alludes to, specifically the cigar stand incorporated into the top of the cutter here. Now, compared to other stands I've seen in cutters and lighters, most of which have been added as an afterthought, it seems, this cigar stand is obviously designed to be an integral part of the overall product. When testing the stand function, it held every cigar I threw at it pretty easily. Box press cigars can go either on top of it or inside the trench, as you see here. Large cigars, no problem at all. You balance it right there, and it holds it very, very easily. Small cigars, you can actually put into a secondary opening here that's perpendicular to the main one. I actually use that for when the cigars got down to the nub, too. It holds those very, very well. And, I found myself using this cigar stand quite a bit more than I thought that I would. And it's an incredibly useful addition that makes an already great cutter just that much better. Now, of course, having said all that, I think I need to mention a few issues that came up while I was reviewing this cutter. And the first issue that I had actually involves that cigar stand that I was talking about before, albeit a different aspect of it. So as you're using the cigar stand, the cigar is burning down. You're putting it up, picking it up and putting it down. This cigar piece here, the top of it, actually starts to smell quite a bit like smoke. Now that's not exactly surprising, but I was surprised at how much that odor actually transferred to whatever I was carrying around in. My pockets, my shorts, my bag, whatever it was, I could tell that there was an odor there, basically because of the transfer from this piece here. Now, thankfully, it's a fairly easy fix. You basically just wipe it down every once in a while with water, and that seems to alleviate the problem. But if you don't do that, you're going to start notice that there is an odor there. Now, secondly, there is the fact of the $40 price tag for this cutter. Now, $40 is not exactly a lot for a cigar cutter, but it is a lot more expensive than a standard punch. And in fact, a lot of the people watching this video probably use punches that are, on the bottom of cigar lighters or what have you. If you're not going to use the extra features in this cutter, the cigar stand, the different sizes here of the cutters options that are available, I'm not sure that the price can be justified as much as if you are going to use them. If you're going to actually use these other aspects of the cutter, I don't think there's any problem with the ROI. But if not, then it's definitely a lot of money to pay for something that you're not going to use every aspect of. And so in the end, after all of that, can I recommend the PerfecPunch Stand? The answer is 100% yes. And really the reason is twofold. First of all is the fact that no matter what size option I used of this cutter, I came away with really, really great results. And it didn't matter what vitola I used them on. It really was just overall across the board, great results. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't use that larger option all that often, but it's great to have in case you need it for a larger cigar or something of that nature. Secondly, the fact is that this is a very, very well-designed cutter in just about every aspect. It's light, it's thin, and it doesn't take up that much space, but also it has this wonderful built-in cigar rest, as you see here mentioned before. It's extremely useful, surprisingly useful, really, when it comes down to it. I didn't think I would use it as much as I did, and I ended up utilizing it for pretty much every time I was smoking a cigar that I used this cutter on. Now, listen, $40 is a lot of money for a cutter, but if you were going to be using punch cuts exclusively, this is a really, really great option you should look into. After using this cutter almost exclusively for a month, I can tell you it may not be the absolute perfect punch cutter ever made, but it is the closest option that I've used in quite a while. That's my opinion. If you would like more news and reviews of premium cigars, go to halfwheel.com.